Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and get out. And I'm here to continue my character retrospective for House of Dark Shadows. Now, who am I going next? It's Professor Stokes from the House of Dark Shadows movie. And yes, there was a Professor Stokes in the Dark Shadows series if you haven't caught on by now. Um, yes, played by the same actor, Thayer David, who was in the first Rocky movie as the promoter. Um, Now, what are the differences? Because some people might say, well, there isn't that big of a difference. There is. Okay, the difference more so is personality, I would say, than look. Look is pretty similar, but there is a tiny difference. You don't see the little glass sort of he puts in his eye, and you don't. He doesn't go. I want some sherry and cheese. Um, Again, you might say that's little, but it's not really, because when you're getting into character personality, um, you're getting into the difference between this character and that character. So the biggest difference between Professor Stokes in the House of Dark Shadows movie and Professor Stokes in the series is this. The Professor Stokes in the movie is more Van Helsing than anything else. And you might say, well, isn't he Van Helsing in the series? And people are gonna kill me, might kill me for this. They might even disagree. No, he's not Van Helsing to a degree. He's more, how do I put this? He's not, what I should say is he's not just Van Helsing. He's sort of Van Helsing mixed with Sherlock Holmes a bit. He's smarter than you. He knows he's smarter than you. He's gonna let you know he's smarter than you, especially in the series. Um, in the series, there's a moment Barnabas Collins is seeking a witch's medallion that he knows Professor Stokes has. Okay, Barnabas wants it for protection against a witch, right? He wants to borrow it, as he tells Professor Stokes. And Stokes, Stokes wants some, he wants some sherry and cheese. He figured, he says, I forget people, need things from me. They're not just inviting me over for some sherry and cheese. Uh, I would love to invite Professor Stokes for some sherry and cheese. I would come on over. You can have all you want. But no, um, that's just funny. Now, so Barnabas asked Professor Stokes in the series for a witch's medallion, right, to protect, you know, his doctor who's trying to help him, who's tries to help him, uh, who's trying to help cure him too. Not Doctor Hoffman. It's oh God, Doctor Eric Lang. So I'm not too old. I'm trying to remember everything. So he asked for this, and Professor Stokes says, "Sure, sure. I I'll show you the medallion when you show me the witch." You gotta understand in the series at this point in time what was going on. Now, this is before the movie, well before the House of Dark Shadows movie. But in the series, at that point in time, nobody challenged Barnabas like this. No, when Barnabas asked for something, people just, oh, sure, Barnabas. Oh, here you go, Barnabas. You know, not this time. Not so, as Lee Corso once said, not so fast, my friend. And he's basically telling them, yeah, yeah, sure, you can borrow it. Just show me the witch. Just, hey, where's your witch? If you have witches problems, show me who it is. And you gotta love this because it's so smooth, and it's just like, and I think even Barnabas is like, oh shit, like I can't just. But Barnabas, does his constant insisting. He hounds him, but Stokes tell him as he gives it to him, don't lose it. You and he Stokes mother gets mad. Barnabas does lose it. Sorry. that does he does lose it. Stokes gets mad at him. Stokes in the movie is not that charming. He's, how do I put this? He's not that playful. And really that's the big character difference too. That's what I mean. Like Stokes in the movie is more of a serious toned um, character. He's more of a serious Van Helsing. He more is Van Helsing than anything else. He's an expert on vampires. He's an expert on the occult. Whereas in the series, yes, he is an expert on occult matters, but he doesn't go around making bold accusations without proof. He proves it first. In this, and that's a big, you got to understand, that's a big difference from a characteristic standpoint. In the series, as I've said before, you have time for development to develop the hell out of a character. So they're making the time to make sure, hey, when Stokes throws shade at you, it's for a reason. It's because he knows shit. And another big difference in the series, too, is you can tell him things. He's not somebody who's trying to seek information to blackmail you. This isn't Jason McGuire. This is somebody who truly is fascinated by a world he can imagine does exist. Yes, Stokes believes in the existence of witches and such, but he doesn't let their power consume him or control him. That's in the series. In the movie, okay, yes, he believes in vampires because he brings it to Dr. Julia Hoffman's attention. Julia is not the one seeking the vampire. Professor Stokes is. And again, that's another character difference. So Stokes says to Julia, do you believe in the existence of vampires? Just like I mentioned in my Dr. Julia Hoffman video. Julia goes, no, I've heard. You know what I said. Um, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I guess I will. So she says, no, I know the legend. I know that, they can't go out during the day. They have no reflection. And as he tells her, I'm not talking about legend. I'm talking about real. And he also tells her, because Julia thinks, oh, I can cure this. It's the person's cells. It's attacking. I think I can cure them. And he says the line that he never said in the series. Julia, vampirism isn't a disease. It's one of the best lines in the whole movie, and I enjoy it. But he outdoes himself from that line to the dinner scene with the Collins family. Professor Stokes and Dr. Hoffman. Professor Stokes has made Julia aware that Carolyn's going to rise from her. And Julia believes Professor Stokes. Julia and Professor Stokes are BFFs in the movie. Um, I wouldn't call, they're not BFFs in the series right away. Julia Hoffman attends some of Stokes' classes and even starts attending as a student eventually. Um, so there's that. But they become friends in the series. Whereas in the movie, they're BFFs. They're best friends. So you could say they're taking a bit from Dave Woodard to a degree, maybe. I would give you that. But it's not Dave Woodard's character. Um, Also, the dinner scene, Stokes tells, or sorry, David is coming in from after seeing Carolyn. Carolyn has risen from the dead, and Roger's like David, like how could you say this? Like I saw Carolyn, and then that's when Professor Stokes says, David, come here. Where did you see Carolyn? And Roger can't believe he said this, and neither can anyone else. And they're sort of like really, you're gonna entertain this kid's like fantasy, like. And he tells them that Carolyn most likely has risen from the dead because she's a vampire, and they're just looking at it. Lewis Edmonds gives one of the best mean look, like dirty looks at Stokes in the movie. It's good, and so does Don Briscoe. Like, and Don Briscoe's line too of "I respect you. I respect anything you will say, Professor." Almost, and it's like this. I just can't believe. He says he can't believe, but he does believe enough to go to Carolyn's gravesite. So there is that. Professor Stokes in the movie. Now keep in mind, in the series, and I want to stress this, when this House of Dark Shadows was filmed while the series was going on. I say that here and now because I think I've said it in one of the retrospectives before, but if I haven't, I'm saying it now for this reason. Okay, while the series is being done, an arc called Parallel Time is happening in the series. It's 1970 Parallel Time. Um, so the 1995 arc hasn't happened yet. Therefore, Professor Stokes hasn't been killed off. This is the first, and again, this Professor Stokes is the same as that Professor Stokes. Sarah David's character in this movie gets turned into a vampire and gets staked in the heart. Professor Stokes in the movie gets killed off. He also talks to Willie Loomis. We don't see that on screen. And he confronts Dr. Julie Hoffman. That we do see. We see it both. We see both sort of, I wouldn't call like the first, when Professor Stokes is telling Julie about vampires, I wouldn't call it a confrontation. It's just he's trying to get somebody to believe him other than himself. He knows he's right. Again, there's sort of a similarity. He knows how smart he is, right? So he knows he's right. But he wants somebody at least with the same vote of confidence he has, or at least in the same a field that's similar to his, but not exactly the same. Enter Dr. Julia Hoffman to believe him. And she does believe him. She respects him enough in the movie to go, I believe you. I do believe what you're saying. I see. And plus, remember, Dr. Julie Hoffman sees the cells that is going on in the victims. So she sees his point. She agrees with him. And she herself at that dinner scene I talked about says you need to listen to Professor Stokes. Like she again, she's on his side for the moment until she starts working with Barnabas, where she's like, hey, I can cure this guy. And again, there's that vampirism is a disease. Uh, so Professor Stokes gets turned into a vampire. He gets staked by Jeff Clark. Goddamn Jeff Clark. No. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, so there is that. That's really the end of the character in the movie. In the series, he doesn't get killed off until 1995, the future arc. But that that's another thing too that changes. Professor Stokes doesn't actually die in when they went because Barnabas and Julie have been trying to stop the destruction of Collinwood. They don't stop the destruction of Collinwood, but Professor Stokes doesn't get killed off. Hey, they saved somebody! They saved somebody! Yay! Julie and Barnabas did it. They did. They were successful in their attempt. And that's that. So, guys, that's my character retrospective for Professor Stokes from the House of Dark Shadows movie. I have finished my retrospectives for today. Thank you, ladies. First of all, guys, gals, I want to thank you all who tune in. I want to thank every one of my subscribers. Thank you guys so much. This is just a lot of fun to do, to record these videos and talk Dark Shadows to you, with you. Have a great day.